We all saw it happen. One of the most egregious pieces of tanking I've ever seen took place by the Toronto Raptors against the Orlando Magic. But with the easiest remaining schedule in the NBA, can Toronto still seriously put themselves in contention for that first overall pick and Cooper Flagg? Let's get into it. It was almost an embarrassing sequence of events for the Raptors in their recent win over the Orlando Magic. It has been apparent for a while now that the best course of action for the Raptors for this season, especially for the rest of the season at this point, is to tank and is to maximize that draft pick. It's going to take a little bit of an effort to get to that play-in tournament position, and the reward for getting to the play-in tournament is you have to win 2 games in a row. And the reward for winning 2 games in a row and getting into the playoffs is, well, you play Cleveland in the first round. And Cleveland have lit up the Raptors every time they've played them this season, so I don't imagine that series going particularly well. And in doing so, you're sacrificing a draft pick in a pretty loaded draft class. So understanding that the players want to win and want to be competitive and want to get to the play-in tournament, that's great. But I've been saying at some point, the organization has got to step in and facilitate this tank. Well, they've stepped in that win over the Orlando Magic. The Raptors, leading up to this game, they had been pulling Jakob Poeltl for the clutch game, for the clutch time of the game, for the late stages of the fourth quarter, and they blew a big lead and lost to the Chicago Bulls last week. They almost blew a game earlier in the week to the Orlando Magic. They were trying to make sure that they actually blew this game against the Magic. They pulled almost all of their starters. Well, they pulled their core 4 guys for the end of the game. With 8 minutes left, they took out Jakob Poeltl. With 5.5 minutes left, they took out Emmanuel Quickley and Scotty Barnes. They left RJ Barrett in with Jacoby Walter and 3 other low-tier players. And they were still doing okay against the Magic. But despite the Magic were kind of clawing their way back into the game, they were still doing okay. So they took out RJ Barrett. And the Raptors closed the game with 3 guys who, honestly, G League players: Jared Roden, who just signed a 2-way deal, AJ Lawson, who's on a 2-way deal, and Orlando Robinson, who just got a guaranteed NBA contract for the rest of the season, but basically coming out of the G League, and they've got 2 rookies in Jamal Shin and Jacoby Walter on the floor. That was the 5 they used to close against the Orlando Magic, and why it was an embarrassing sequence of events was it's got to feel a little embarrassing for the players to have to get subbed out and to just accept the humongous elephant in the room about the tank. That's got to feel pretty awkward. That's got to feel pretty embarrassing. But to do all of that, to perform this egregious tank job, well, at least attempt to do it, because the Raptors still won this game. That was the problem. The Magic got back in the game. They took a 2-point lead with 4.7 seconds left. And I'll credit Raptors coaching staff. At least they coached those guys trying to win that game. They wanted those players to go out and win. It was just, higher ups said, you got to do this pretty much. At least that's how I'm going to take it. Masai Ujiri, Bobby Webster, the Raptors front office told Darko, this is what you got to do. You got to try and make sure you don't win this game. Let the guys play for the first 3 quarters, but the fourth quarter, you got to basically put the guys out that it's going to make it more likely for us to lose. But hey, give them the platform to go and win the game if they can. And it seemed like they weren't going to do it, but a Jacoby Walter miraculous 3 with 0.5 seconds left got the Raptors the win. So they pulled out the starters, kind of embarrassingly, kind of shamefully, and then they still won the game. Pretty embarrassing situation overall, but the Raptors made it extraordinarily obvious what their goals are for the rest of the season. That is absolutely going to be a tank. However, the Raptors have by far and away, not even close, the Raptors have by far and away the easiest remaining schedule left in the NBA. Take a look here. The Raptors, with those 20 games remaining, the opponents add up to a win percentage of .358. The closest competitor in that race of remaining strength of schedule is the Boston Celtics, who in their last 21 games face opponents with a combined win percentage of .436. So again, it is not even close. The Raptors have to play Washington 3 more times, the Hornets 2 more times, the Jazz 2 more times, the Nets 2 more times, the Sixers twice, and again, they still have to play the Bulls. This is by far and away the easiest remaining schedule left in the NBA. And very obviously, Toronto have proven that they have the players who are capable of winning a bunch of these games. But the organization has decided that, very obviously, they want to tank for these games. So you've got a real clash here. The players wanting to make the play-in tournament because they're competitive, they want to win, and the organization wanting to tank for a better draft pick. And you've got me on that side as well of like, yeah, it would probably make more sense for this team to maximize their draft pick. I feel for the players. I really do. I felt for Barnes. I felt for Quickly, who looked like on the bench they were asking when they're going back in. I felt for Barrett getting yanked from the game when it looked like he was going to be the reason the Raptors still win this game. I feel for them. I really do. But there are bigger things at play. Hopefully it's being communicated effectively that is the case. It's got to be hard to be a part of a tanking team when you have that competitive edge and you do want to be successful for your team. It's got to be difficult for guys who are on expiring contracts who, none of the main guys in Raptors are on those expiring contracts, but it's got to be hard and it's got to be a little bit embarrassing. It's got to be a little bit shameful, but with a player like Cooper Flagg at stake and the consolation prizes of Dylan Harper and Ace Bailey, perhaps you have to take ethics and you have to take shame out of the equation. You've got to be shameless. You've got to be unethical, and you've got to put yourself in the best spot for Cooper Flagg. Now, how I would do it is rest guys in advance. I know there's rules and regulations from the NBA to stop that from happening, which makes it difficult. From my understanding of the rule, there's nothing the NBA can do about the Raptors pulling their starters in the fourth quarter of the game. It's kind of funny the NBA can't really do anything about it. I don't imagine Adam Silver was too content with how this tanking attempt went down for the Raptors, and perhaps other teams will follow suit. But you have to be unethical and you have to be shameless. Hopefully, like the Raptors start to, when a guy is injured, they start to actually say, okay, let's sit him out for a couple of days. Let's not rush him back like they have been doing in other settings. I'd prefer the players just miss the game completely rather than making it obvious during the game that they are trying to lose. But it's going to be difficult to try and lose these games because the schedule is so easy. And all these other teams are already putting in work for the tank. Like look at Utah's injury list right now. Utah are definitely not trying to win games right now. So how are the Raptors going to get themselves embroiled within this tank? Well, they've got to figure out a way, because having the easiest remaining schedule in the NBA is a bit of a double-edged sword in a way. There's kind of two things that could happen here, because the Raptors, yes, it will be harder to lose these games. However, if they do manage to lose these games, the good news is they are losing to teams in and around them in the tank race. Right now, the Raptors have a bottom 5 record in the NBA, but that win, back-to-back wins over the Orlando Magic, have put them within 1.5 games of Brooklyn and the Philadelphia 76ers. So put themselves in a little bit of a tough situation there. But if the Raptors can, and it looks like they will be, shameless and unethical with the tank for the rest of the season, when they lose these games in this easy part of the schedule, they are giving wins to the team that is right around them. It's like playing 1 versus 2. It's like playing 4 versus 5 at the top of the conference. Those are big games. Those are 2-win swings. You win, they have to lose. So for the Raptors in these spots, I hate the way I'm sounding in this video, but it is what it is at this point. When the Raptors lose these games, they are giving wins to opponents that are right around them in the standings, thus further strengthening their position with the tank. I sound horrible. I think I sound evil in this video, but I think the grand majority of the fan base is on my side with this. And along the way, look, let's say the Raptors did end up losing that game. Jacoby Walter misses that 3. You still had some great moments with Jared Rhoden. You still had some great moments with A.J. Lawson. Some great experience for Jamal Shed. Some great experience for Jacoby Walter. Even better experience now that he hit that 3, and confidence must be through the roof at this present point. There's still reason to tune in, and there's still enjoyment to get out of these games. It sucks wanting your team to lose. It does, but the NBA has created this system that rewards teams losing. And until there's a way of solving that, I don't know what it is that can solve that, if anything. This is the reality of the NBA. This is the reality of many major North American sports leagues. You have got to put yourself in a position to get these players, these quality players in the draft. Not everyone can be a Lakers that gets a LeBron in free agency, that has Luka Doncic fall in their lap. These teams, especially the Raptors, they build their teams through the draft. They build their teams through getting talent in the draft. That's just what the Raptors have to do. They don't have success with free agents. Yes, they've had track records of success with trading, but that needs to be supplemented by the draft. And again, there's guys like Cooper Flagg, Ace Bailey, Dylan Harper, and others as a reward for doing it. So it's very icky. And I do have a little bit of a problem with the way they approached it in the Magic game, but ultimately, like, maybe it is just what they have to do. And I think as a fan base, we kind of just have to accept that, especially with this easy schedule where their loss is a win for a team that's right around them in the standings. It's just what's got to happen. It'll suck for 20 more games, but hopefully there is that reward in the offseason of a very good draft pick that's going to really help this team, and fans will forget about it. Like, tanking in Tampa was just a foreign territory for the Raptors. Like, they had been so good for so long. They had been one of the best teams in the NBA for 10 years. All of a sudden, they were tanking in Tampa. Fans, and even myself, struggled to come to terms with that, but we forgot all about it when the lottery gods blessed us with that 4th overall pick, and the Raptors selected Scotty Barnes, and he won Rookie of the Year. It's just the nature of the NBA. It's the nature of the business. It is something that just has to happen. And the Raptors are making it very, very obvious now. So the rest of the teams near the bottom, you better look out for the tanking Toronto Raptors of 2025. What do you guys make of all this tanking stuff? Give me your thoughts and opinions in the comments down below. That's it for me for today. Drop a like if you enjoyed. Subscribe for more Raptors content. I will see you again next time for another video.